Hey, 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 and welcome back for another Pillow Talk Unplugged with Stacy and Anya. Tonight is going to be a good show. Reason being, now I was going to do this show only on my business page because we're living in a very sensitive time and I don't want to offend anyone. I don't want to make it anything racial. I don't want to cause any triggers, but again, this is unplugged and a lot of things. Um, she joined in the show too.
Every
um,
episode.
okay. So the thing of it is, it's just bringing awareness. And I love that my show can teach you something or you can learn something or be able to handle situation differently at the end of this hour. So that's the reason why I always have these shows for just for awareness. Let's just skip to that, right? So, I just want to cover a few things before I get started. So, I am Sasha, owner of Sasha Essence Spa. So, I'm a holistic spa where I do all holistic services and I have products that I sell that I make on my own. So, that's the good part about my business. And I'm located in the heart of downtown Hampton. And I have Anya here, which is my best friend, and she's my co host. So we're going to get into this show tonight. Also, I just want to remind everyone I am doing a holiday special for Christmas boxes. So if you are on my personal page and my business page, I am doing holiday boxes. So if you're trying to get someone something quick for Christmas, let it be Sasho Essence. All right, so we're going to get into the show.
You
And
said,
Anya,
yes, get a
you
box.
have any?
Just,
You have
just so
any?
y'all know, this glove, it's her products. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Girl, let me tell you, I love what I do. I really do. I honestly can say that being in this business is not easy, but at the end of the day, the results, the ending results are amazing. I absolutely love, all of the feedback that I get, whether it's positive or negative. I do take constructive criticism very well.
Mm-hmm.
So once I get that, it helps me to go back to the drawing board to do better. So I do love that. Um, so yeah, well, with this show is definitely going to be different. Now, I'm not sure about the views because I feel like when you start tapping into certain cultures or segregating certain cultures or race, it can get a little bit finicky. But I said, why not? Let me just take a chance to see where it goes. So, we may have some people log in and feedback, and we may not. But we're here to go ahead and continue the show, Anya. So, the one thing I wanted to say, now, mind you, I feel like all cultures, all races, they go through things, right? Granted, they all go through their own things. But I feel like for us as the African American community, Black community, however you want to put it, it's like we always have to sweep things under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
Like and then we're held to be so strong um that it's damaging, right? It's damaging and it's also traumatizing and it leaves us in a critical, like crippled position as we're getting older.
Yeah.
Okay.
When it comes to your mental development, it definitely does.
Right. And that's why I was just thinking, like, maybe the way that I am now, I'm a little delayed in like understanding things because no one said, let's go to the table and have a family discussion. You see it on TV, other races or whatever, they
Family
come,
meeting.
right, they come into the family meeting and they're talking about what hurt them. We never had that. I know growing up, I did not have someone say, let's go to the drawing board and talk about it. I've seen things and see things happen, and I'm like, that's another secret we're gonna have to keep or go to the grave with,
Because
and nobody talks about it, right? Nobody
you're
does
told
that.
the same thing. If your child stay in a child's place, um, whatever happens in this house stays in this house.
Right. That's the main one. And that got on my nerves. And it's so crazy because now I'm doing it to my own kids. But like, well, what am I afraid of? Like, this is real life stuff. If something's going on, I don't care who you tell. This is real life stuff, right? But we've been just so coached on protecting the culture. It's like, it's almost like we're in a bind almost. Okay. So, like, for an example, I saw, oh, and if anybody's here watching, you could comment. If you're on my business page, it might be on my it's on my regular page too. And you comment. Sometimes I can't see everybody's comments. So if you're commenting and I'm not seeing it, you may want to jump onto my business page to kind of toggle back and forth. I don't want to forget anybody's comments. And I think that's what's been going on. And I'll go after the show and see the comment. I'm like, oh man. So I don't want anybody
Mhm.
I'm ignoring them. It's just I can't see it. I might need to make a complaint. No. So I saw a post, right? Some months back. Now, the person that posted it, I'm not gonna say her name or anything, but I think a lot of people know, they saw it going viral. The person that posted it, I actually was received some services from her. She's really professional, great business, and I actually work with her, supporting her business. She posted a post about what happened to her. She just put the age, who it was, and I guess the time it happened. I can't remember the post. And just that fast, it went viral, right?
Mm.
I did my own investigating because for me, I like to dig deep, like when I'm looking at these things. Social media have you like that, okay?
Yep, make me run to the comments. Run to the comments, baby.
Because that's where you're gonna see everything, and then you keep going and going
Mhm.
and going until you get what you need, right? So something said keep digging to see how this transpires. So once I got under the post, I saw everybody. I was 13, I was 12, I was 16, I was 7, I was 8. I mean, ages where you can remember those type of things happening to you, right? No one said 3 or 4 or 5. You can't remember that. Not that I know of, but I know for sure that it was ages from 7 on up. Those are memorable ages, right? Ages where you can remember.
Mhm.
And they were saying all of the things that happened to them. They weren't saying what happened, they just said who it was. And so I dug some more. So I'm like, this can't be. So I said, okay, let me keep looking at the post, right? I'm reading it. I'm appalled. And there were actual men under there that was commenting as well, too. Um, they were saying it was their brother, their uncle, their cousin, their mom's husband, like their grandpa, their dad. And I'm like, oh my Jesus, like sisters. Um, it was women too that were sexually abusing these women. But again, they didn't say what happened. They just said what age it was and who it was, right?
Mhm.
And I couldn't believe it. So as I started to go more into it, me being nosy, I went
That
ahead and
that's why
looked.
people post it.
Yeah, because I wanted to see. It was majority Black women. I was shocked. And most of the other culture women was apologizing to us, saying, I'm so sorry that happened. I'm sorry that y'all went through that. I mean, other women from other cultures, but most of the victims under that post were African American, which it broke my heart because I'm like, why didn't anybody save us? And where was the parents? Where was the mothers for these hurt children? Well, I summed up in my mind and I said, oh, the mothers were there, but guess what we had to do? We had to cover it up.
Mhm.
And nobody defended us. Nobody
What
said,
happens in this house stays in this house
right.
for some homes.
So when I thought about it, I was just like, wow, this is a problem. And then it stemmed back to people that were physically abused. I've seen it myself in my home. My mom dealt with it for 16 years. I was like, that's a lot of years to just keep getting piled on. I mean, I see boxers boxing, right? And after some years of them boxing, they start to look deformed. And I mean, she's just taking this beating.
Takes a toll on their bodies.
But she never complained. She never talked about it. And I'm wondering, why does it have to be like that? Like, where is it in a book to say that because of your skin color, you're not allowed to talk about it, just deal with it and move on? Because you're supposed to be strong. Like, help me with this, Anya, because I'm telling you, I was just like, what the heck?
I mean, we both know
Mm-hmm.
as Black women that it's definitely something that it's expected that we're just supposed to deal with it. Or it's, oh, you're strong enough, you'll get through this, or you got the friends to tell you, girl, will just leave them. But then
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, like when you're having that conversation, it's like, do we ever really sit and listen to why they're saying?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because if you really love somebody, you are hoping that they'll change and that it
Right.
won't always be like that. And then some women have just been beaten down so much that
Mm-hmm.
they don't think that they can go anywhere else.
Mm.
It's just, it's different now, I guess, with our generation because we're more vocal
Right.
and we really speak our minds and we're quicker to walk away from bad situations. But
Mm-hmm.
the older generations, they were raised to stay, stick
Mm-hmm.
it out. Once you've committed to a marriage or anything with somebody, this is it till death do you part. A lot of the wives weren't making a whole lot of money or didn't want to live a life where they were single mothers because that wasn't something that was recognized back then.
Right.
It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't very common.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, I'm sure even with my grandparents,
Mm-hmm. Girl.
they're not on my mom's side because those are, those grandparents are my angels.
Right.
But I mean, on like the other side of my family, I know that I've seen arguments
Mm-hmm.
between my
Mm-hmm.
grandparents and wondered, like, I wonder what they were like when they were younger.
Mm-hmm.
Or when it was that time where grandma's like, I'm gonna kill your grandfather because he out there messing with women. And it's like, really? He
Y'all got that kind of problems?
it's it's like he does that? And
Right.
and then you get older and you're like, and she stayed? Like, why?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it also has to do with your self esteem. Like I actually had, I won't, at the time she was a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's more of an associate. We don't really talk anymore,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm definitely still open to talking to her.
Right.
But I know that there have been times when we had conversations and you realize that a lot of people walk around and they'll say, I love myself. I love myself. Self love. I'm doing everything for me. But then you
Mm-hmm.
sit back and you look at their relationships and the people that they deal with, and you're like, but do you really love yourself?
Right.
Because I've had somebody cut me off because I said that the person that they were messing with was verbally abusive.
Mm.
He's talking to you crazy. He's making you think that nobody else wants you. I don't want to be with any man that's going to say,
Mm-hmm.
don't nobody else want you. I'm the only person that wants you. Really?
Right.
Let me show you something.
Right. And they're dying on the inside. But again, we have come from this generation where we were told that you could stick it out, you can handle it,
Yeah. And
right?
you grow up seeing it. And then
Mhm.
when it's time for you to live it, you're doing the same thing. Oh, well, this person has potential. They can be who I think that they can be. They can
Mhm.
get past this. They won't be this bad all the time. I'm
Mhm.
just going to stick around
Mhm.
because we've all been in relationships that we should have walked away from
Mhm.
way before the time that we had.
Right. And we
And it's
didn't. Go ahead. I'm
because we didn't know our self-worth.
sorry. Right. Right.
And because of what we saw growing up, where
Mhm.
you had a mindset of you're supposed to stick it out no matter what. I love this person, so I'm gonna be there. But how long do you do that?
Without it mentally jacking you up.
Mhm.
Okay. And then the thing of it is, here's the crazy part. We go through all of that, right? Okay. Now, mind you, like I said, this is not a race thing. It's just what's been going on for years. You deal with all of that, right? And then they're telling you that you're delusional for dealing with it. And you're like, well, I don't know no other way. But the
Yeah.
same people that you're looking at stuck it out is telling you you got to go. and that you're stupid for saying, and they're putting you down and telling you that you're doing everything wrong. And I'm sitting here like, oh,
But I watched you do the same thing.
the same
But then,
thing.
they also trying to say, okay, well, I learned my lesson, so now I want to tell you a better way to do it, which is understandable. I appreciate it, but
Right,
it's still hard to break that cycle when I spent so many years watching you do it this way.
right, right, right.
And
And
then
that's
once you got it right, I'm not even in the house with you no more.
right,
I don't see that change
right.
directly like I did when I
Mhm,
was in the house with you growing up and seeing all these things happen. Now I'm an adult and it's like, oh my gosh, like
mhm,
everything is beautiful. This is amazing. I'm so happy for you and that you got to this place. And now you have this, all this advice that you want to give.
mhm.
But
I can't use it.
yeah,
I can't,
I'm still looking at you like you got all this great advice, but I still saw the other stuff. I wish I would have been like directly there to see the new you too, so that I could benefit from that.
that's what I was thinking too. I think if my mom had a put in, had stood up for herself and talked more about the situation, um, then we wouldn't have been so timid when it comes to speaking up for ourselves or not being okay with walking away. Now, I'm not saying that's for not for every woman, because when we do speak up for ourselves, then this is what you get on the other hand. You're bitter, you're toxic, you got too much mouth. I mean, you get degraded, and it's like, well, no, this is what any human being would do, is to defend themselves.
Mhm.
Why is it because we're in this that I'm bitter? How does it make me bitter? Because I'm standing up for myself. Why do I have to be toxic because I don't want to deal with that anymore? Why do I have to be disrespectful because you're talking down to me and I don't like it? So then you have this thing where, and I've been told this, that's why I like foreign women.
Honey,
Foreign women are African American too. I mean, they're black too, but because they're from another country, it makes them okay. I'm like, that doesn't give you a right. So you're just telling me that because they're foreign, they're going to submit to you? And I'm like, I'm not foreign. First of all, I'm from a descent,
I
not
have a friend. I promise you, it has not been 30 days since he and I had that conversation. He was like, you know what? I'm tired of these black women, their attitudes. I'm going out the country. I'm going to Colombia, Brazil, somewhere. I'm gonna go get me a woman of another nationality. And I'm like, a woman is still a woman.
right.
If she's mistreated, she's still gonna be the same way. If she's treated well, she's still gonna be the same way.
Anyway.
And while you consider you can complain about people being damaged, before you changed and you matured, you
Hmm.
were part of that problem.
Right.
You caused damage too. You weren't always perfect. None of us are perfect. And as we get older, we're still supposed to grow. Growth is supposed to be forever. It doesn't stop at some point.
Hmm.
Just like healing doesn't end at some point. You're always healing from whatever trauma you've been through in your life.
Hmm. Right.
Some things you never get closure from, and you have to learn to move past it.
Right. It is
So
crazy. Yeah, you're right. I
it
even,
is.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. I was agreeing.
It's crazy because even then, dealing with all of that stuff back then, um, when you get older, it's like you're constantly on a protection,
Hmm.
right?
The guard
So
is always up.
always up, even for your own child. Now, never in a million years, I'm like, I have a little girl. Now I'm thinking, if I had two boys, how would that have been? Maybe one of them would have been turned up. I probably would have been going through hell and back high water trying to keep this other one under control, because it's always the second one. But anyway, I love her to death. She's here now. She's a girl. And given the fact that what I went through, I try to make a space. Now, it's not always successful, but I always try to remember that my mom didn't have these special talks with me. I couldn't
Hmm.
go to her, especially not when she was raising us. She was always stressed the hell out. You know what I'm saying? Three kids on one person, that's a lot to deal with. I mean, even in this time, us as women, And that's another thing I want to touch on. Like, we're always left to do it by ourselves, right? So, and I'm going to say what my point of view is of what I've noticed. So we'll come back to that. But given the fact that I have a girl, it's scary because what I had to deal with my girl is because I was put in a position to be sexually abused. I had to always be on guard.
Mhm.
So now every man that comes around me, I'm watching them like a hawk. Not because, oh, my daughter got a body, she's pretty, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking at them to make sure you ain't looking at her. So even in my relationships, even though I was in the relationship with the man, I still was watching him, right?
That's a
Because
good
I'm
sign.
like, how close are you being? What are you doing? Why are you talking to her like that? Why are you playing with her like that? And even till this day, sometimes I would ask her, like, well, did he make a pass at you? Did he say anything wrong to you? How do y'all play? Why did he take so long? Like, I'm freaking nervous wreck. Not that and listen, by far, that person has never showed me that they were anything of that. But because of my own trauma and not being able to address it the proper way or even get counseling, because again, I was young, um, it was shocking because it traumatized me. Like, I am a 41-year-old woman and I'm still on freaking guard. My daughter can't even walk out the door and I'm like, what the hell?
But it's gonna be like that though, because I mean, I don't even have kids, and I've got nieces and nephews,
Mhm.
and you still worry about that no matter what. And I don't just worry about girls; I worry about boys too, because a lot of boys, they don't talk about it.
They don't, and that's even
Even
crazy because
even
our
with grown men, like you'll have grown men that you're close to that they've been sexually abused, and they'll say that they have, but they don't ever really want to go into detail about it.
in this
They
community.
don't ever want to talk about exactly what they went through. Um,
Mhm,
Also,
mhm,
there are a lot of times as children that we don't realize
mhm.
when stuff is being done that's inappropriate because we're kids.
Right,
Like
right.
even
Mhm,
when I was younger,
mhm,
snow day, rough housing in the yard with my friends, older
mhm,
siblings, everybody. We just out there playing, not paying it no mind. I'm not paying attention to the fact that I'm out here playing with my friends and I just got tackled by a grown man
mhm.
and he's excited.
And you're not thinking nothing of
And
it.
no, and it doesn't click until you're sitting there as an adult one day thinking about all the stuff. You're like, yo, that
Was wrong
was
as hell.
inappropriate as hell. But back then, it was like, we all just having a good time. I'm not paying any mind because that's not where my mind is. Just like
Right.
for boys, boys brag about, oh, I lost my virginity at 12 to my babysitter. And why is that okay? Oh, yeah, I messed around with my babysitter at 10. That's not okay. That person was a pedophile.
Very much so. And they were doing it. And guess what? In our
You
community,
bragging about it because you thought it was right, but it was wrong.
it was. And we couldn't talk about it.
But see, for
Because
boys,
mhm,
the dad's like, yeah, son, you got it.
right.
But
It's
then
not
it's different for us.
definitely different. And then the sad part about it is we couldn't talk about it. Or you're being told that it was a lie, right? So even it's
Or
so
to
scary.
still keep it a secret.
Still keep it a secret. And I'm sitting here. So every day I find myself trying to find a way to make sure that my daughter can come to me and be open because when I went to someone, I listen, let me tell y'all. Now on last season, I had 31 carriages, right? And I told my story. And this is not throwing my mom under the bus. It's the truth. It is what it is. This is the thing that we have been taught not to talk about it because either you're embarrassing the other person or nobody wants to be hit with the truth. I've never been like that. Anya, you've known me for years. Anybody that know me, I'm transparent as hell. Okay. I'm going
Hmm.
to tell you what it is because why are we doing that? I know there's a time and place for things, right? So this is the time because I'm on the show. This is not something I'm going to walk around in the streets and tell everybody, hey, my mom chose my cousin over me. I'm not going to do that. But anyway, my story is I was telling her, I told a teacher that I was, going through some things. And the teacher ended up reaching out. Somehow I'm in the sixth grade, so I don't know how the police got involved or nothing. I just know we were headed over to my aunt's house. I was like, oh crap, this is really going down. I got over there. And once I got over there, they got through the process, asked him some questions, skipping forward, asking some questions, and then came back to my mom. And the first thing that she said to him was, what the police said to him was, to her, sorry, I'm confused. Okay, said to her was, do you want to press charges? My mom said no. Immediately, I was like, oh, so we're just living the same thing because you dealt with abuse for 16 years. Oh, I'll be fine. What will happen? I'm going to end up like you. Here you are now in your 60s, in a bed, confined, and you still talk about being abused by my father every day. But you never addressed it. You didn't call the police and file charges. You didn't get restraining orders. You didn't do any of that. You just dealt with it and left, right? I'm gonna tell you about other races. They go through the whole thing. Like they'll bring you down. They'll be putting you under white collar crime, and you be
Some
looking
some
crazy.
do, some do,
Okay,
and some don't. It still depends on the family dynamic.
dynamic, right? But I feel like for us, we just don't get. It's more majority that will continue to hide it versus getting it out and bringing awareness and putting this person to a stop. So it wasn't like that for me because we went back home and nothing else came of it. So guess what? Now I got to keep seeing this person at barbecues. I got to keep seeing him at birthdays. I got to keep seeing him at events until I decided as an adult, I don't want to see you no more because it's nasty. I'm thinking about what you did to me. I
Yeah.
don't want to see you anymore. So instead of me saying, nope, you know what? I'm going to go back to this drawing board and I'm going to get justice for this. It's too late now. It's like, girl, you older. Let it go. That's what I've been taught. So instead of me addressing it and getting it taken care of because I watched somebody that I thought was going to help me walk away from it because they felt sorry for someone else's mother and didn't feel sorry for my innocence and my integrity and my self-worth, that he got to walk away. Now, not for long, because it ended up being a thing where he suffered for it later on. But I had to go years of that before it actually got out in the open. And then somebody's mom was like, no, you ain't gonna do that. So it was put to an end. It just came out. But I was like, damn, I had to be the guinea pig first. And you gotta wait for it for
Why,
years.
why we couldn't have did this when I was going through it? I'm being tortured,
Exactly.
having to attend every family event with this person and act like I'm okay.
Just because we're taught to just let it go. Now let me go back to this, right? The Menendez brothers, you heard about that story on Netflix? Did you see the documentary?
I have not watched the whole thing
Girl.
because look, the shows be showing
Hmm.
and I get distracted. But I
Girl,
but I did hear about it though.
you have to because they were going through the same thing, but the only thing is their father was doing it to them and the mom was aware, right? She was aware of it.
Hmm.
But this what they did. Something I don't think we would ever have done because number one, we're coming from a place in our lives where we probably would have been thrown under the bus. Now, granted, they did get the justice that they needed. You know what I'm saying? Justice was served in that sense, but it wasn't right away. They went in and brutally murdered their
Took
parents
matters into their own hands. They
into
did.
their own hands because they were traumatized and they were tired of it and took matters into their own hands. I mean, went in and when I say overdid it. And they went on like life didn't even matter. It wasn't until one of them told the therapist. This is why it got out. Now, had he not did that, what would have happened? And that was a different cultured family.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how far they went. Now they got a whole documentary. They've been in jail for life. Like they're bringing awareness to that situation. So now I'm thinking there was over how many shares on that post? I mean, it was like thousands and thousands and thousands of people that shared that. And most of them were Black women
Mm-hmm.
that went through this, from every uncle, brother, grandpa, cousin. Okay. And nobody's on a documentary. I couldn't tell Netflix about my situation because it's like, okay, who are you?
Talking about another black girl got touched. Okay.
Okay. You didn't do anything dramatic. So I'm like, oh, maybe I had to go and put him down or something, or do something crazy for it to matter. So you see where I'm going with this?
And then, another sad part is
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to family, and it didn't happen to me,
Mm-hmm.
but when it comes to family,
Mm-hmm.
and especially with little girls coming out and saying, this is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And you always got that relative that's like, okay, but what did you do? You will walk around here being fast. You wearing them little tight clothes. You doing this and you doing that. You wanted attention.
Mm-hmm. Like how? How do I know I want that at 8 years old or 9 years old or 10 years old? How am I knowing that? I'm still playing with Barbie dolls. Are you kidding me? Like, how does that make sense? I
And
was
then I'm sitting
watching.
here looking at you. I want you to protect me, and you're now putting this on me as a child.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna put
Yep.
it on me that it's my fault.
That's what it is. That's what it boils down to. And then the thing of it is, I was watching there's a preacher, her name is Nona, I believe. I bumped up into her show.
Right?
Letitia said, "Hey honey, girl, I thought we wasn't gonna have no viewers tonight." I was
Well,
like,
no,
"Hey,
but
Letitia."
I mean, they may be watching and just not saying anything, but yeah, they quick
Yeah,
to accuse you
of
of
being
being
fat,
fast,
right?
and
Hey Letitia. Yeah,
I
it's
think stuck it.
isn't it crazy?
It
And
is. It's sad.
how am I being fast at 9 years old?
Or
I
even
don't understand.
or even the people that are in denial,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, okay, I expected you to protect me, and instead you were, oh no, they said they did this, so now you're telling me that I'm losing my mind.
Or I'm lying. That's the part right there. So now you're telling me I'm telling a lie. She, and on that show, she said, Letitia laughing, she went on that show and she said that when she not on, went on the show, she said in her preaching, her sermon, that her mom told her, that's a lie. Go back in there and apologize. What?
Apologize to
Hello?
your
I'm a
abuser.
young, I could not imagine my daughter coming to me and saying, hey, I don't care who it is. And please do not judge me. Okay. Her brother's still a boy. You get what I'm saying? I don't know where his mind is. I would never put that on him, ever, ever in life, ever. I would never think he would ever do that. But I didn't think my cousin was going to do it to me. I didn't think, other men would do it. And sometimes I just be like, is everything all right with y'all? You good? I tell her, be mindful. Don't change in front of him. Excuse yourself if you have to do certain things, because even though he's still your brother, I'm not saying that he's twisted that way. I would never put that on my son. It's just not making him uncomfortable because you're developing. You get what I'm saying? And you shouldn't be in front of him that way. Like my mom didn't care. She just whatever. And my brother's like, hello, I'm your son. What the hell? You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you just walking around like this? So it's just a matter of having respect. And, I check in because at the end of the day, we don't know a serial killer is going to be a serial killer, right? We don't know a murderer is going to be a murderer. We don't know. We don't know because people minds we can't see. We can't read them. So we don't know. And I'm not, like I said, I would never put that on my son. But again, he's still a male. He's developing, and I want to make sure that everything's on the up and up. If it was ever a case where something like that would have happened, instead of just not dealing with it. I would have to seek him some help while he's in prison, because I'm like, what are you doing? That is wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, no,
Yeah.
you cannot do that. You have to suffer the consequences. You have to do, you know, I just would not let that slide like it was for me. Like, oh, it's your brother, so I have to let that go. Oh, it's your cousin, I have to let. No, you have to pay the cost for that because you're doing something that's wrong. So while
I
you're, mhm. I thought you froze. I'm
look,
like,
look,
hello.
look, I'm gonna find it.
Okay.
Um, so for me,
Hmm.
I had a lot of issues growing up with my aunt's husband
Oh wow.
not knowing how to keep his hands to himself.
Mm.
And I remember after I graduated,
Mhm.
she was who I moved in with. And I mean, even at 18, first of all, 18 ain't grown in any way, shape, or form. 18 is not grown.
Right.
I was terrified to live there because I was just like, aren't you still with him?
Mhm.
And it's, girl,
Mhm.
you ain't got to worry about him.
Mhm.
And it ended up being that he actually did touch me
Mm.
inappropriately. And I went to my aunt and I told her,
Mhm.
and it was, oh, I'm going to talk to him about it when he gets home. Told my
Mm.
mama.
Mm.
I think Felicia pulled up with a little weight in the purse because he looked scared when she left that house. And I
He's like that.
appreciate it because that's how you protect your baby.
Right. Right.
But I remember telling my aunt and her just sitting there like, what? What do you mean? He did what? Are you sure? Maybe he was trying to do this, do that. And I'm like, no,
Mm.
I know what that was.
Mhm.
It was wrong. And I felt extremely uncomfortable about it.
Right.
Now, this man disappeared. I lie to you not. He disappeared for 3 days. He did,
Guilt.
he did not come home for 3 days because my aunt was known for being crazy. They
Right.
stunk back in the day. She didn't cut him in some most stuff.
Oh wow.
But yet when he came back, she
Mhm.
had a conversation with him and she comes to me and she says, oh, he said he was just trying to hug you. And then that was it.
What in the world? I know
That
you
was it.
like you did not.
Right. Your husband just
That,
disappeared for 3 days. 3 days.
and that was a hug.
And the crazy thing
Mhm.
about Black families when it comes to stuff like that is
Mhm.
after that, you're still expected to carry on life like everything's normal,
The same way.
like it's no big deal. I mean, even years after, because I moved out of her house
Mhm.
shortly after that, because I wasn't, no, I dealt with it enough as a child.
Mhm.
I was hoping it was going to be different as an adult, and it wasn't. He still tried me. But that's
Mm.
also the whole, try to get past that attitude.
Right.
But even after that, years later, like he will go through stuff. Oh, your uncle's in the hospital. You should go and see him.
Mm.
Why am I going to see him? Well, the
Mm.
family needs to visit him. Did you forget my childhood and what happened in adulthood?
No, they ain't forget.
And it's,
It's under
well,
the rug.
I just thought I'd let you know. Okay, well, this isn't going to sound nice to you, but call me when he's dead.
Yeah, because you're built.
Not while he's
You
sick. Call me when he's dead. Tell me he gone.
gone because you have this hatred for him inside of you. Let me read this. Instead of holding these perverted men accountable, accusations of enticement as if something we did warranted the attention of these nasty old tail men. Exactly. She said it's placed on us. She said, sorry, type too fast. That's what I was thinking. I'm like,
It is.
you're angry. And that's what I was telling you. Like, I still had to go to events and still be there. And now, once I got to the point, I'm older and I'm overly protecting my daughter to the point where I'm exhausted.
I used to say that
Hmm.
I felt like there was an invincible stamp on my forehead that said touch me. that I just
Mhm.
couldn't see.
Right. Hmm.
But all the perverts knew it.
Girl, they could sense it a mile away, can't
It's
they?
it's it's like they could smell it in the it no matter how
Hmm.
old I was. I remember visiting with a friend to see her parents, and her father
Hmm.
groped me as we were leaving. It was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much for opening your home to us. You know, this was a really great trip. Got to see your city. This was wonderful." And daddy was like, "I've been waiting to do this whole time you've been here." And just grabs him.
Your breast?
Yes. And I'm just like, "Yo,
What?
what in the world?"
Was he drunk or something?
He was a drinker, but that still don't make it right though, because I'm
Right.
still
Yeah.
pretty much, even though I've been in your house for like the last 2, 3 days, like I definitely got the vibe. So I steered clear
Right.
and somehow still got stuck in this awkward moment with you.
And you still had to deal with it.
And I told a friend of mine, she was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm
Hmm.
so embarrassed. I'm gonna
Yeah.
talk to my mom about it." And I'm like, "No, I want to be here to see shit hit the fan." Like, don't talk about it later. Talk about it now. I want an apology, something. But it didn't go that way. But it's just it's crazy because you do always feel like you're on high alert from what you go through, from
Hmm.
watching your children. It's like
Hmm.
your fears, as
Hmm.
soon as as soon as you find out, especially with little girls,
Hmm.
that fear would just like immediately hit you like, okay, I already have to spend the rest of my life protecting you.
Right.
But now I feel like I'm really on guard because I never want you to go through what I went through.
That part.
And it
That's
does,
the part.
it for some reason it does happen through the generations.
It does. And it doesn't stop. And it's like we're the generational breakers, right? We're the curse breakers here, right? This generation right here, because we have therapy, we got all types of stuff that is offered to us to help us cope, to be able to be stronger for this generation because they're not as strong as we were. Something like this happening to them, they'll be completely broken, right?
Some, and then some
Some,
I think are gonna be okay.
yeah, they probably would, because some of them, like I see some of my daughter friends, and I'm like, that high tail right there. I'm like, mm-mm-mm. That ain't that ain't going down. You ain't about to be doing what she doing. Heck no. So, and I'm like, for us as in this community, believe it or not, they say, and I'm not saying that I found this somewhere or is a statistic, we are the most disrespected race as women. Men and all sorts, we get treated so badly because we're we're supposed to deal with it. Now, this is way off topic, right? Not off topic, but I'm a TikToker person. I'm always scrolling. And the more I
Hmm.
scroll, the more stuff pop up and it be taking me to places that I didn't even I was like, "Oh, I bumped up on this." So, I don't know. I'm like drama. I used to be into all these reality shows. So,
I
you
had to let
remember,
them go.
girl, I just what is it? House Atlanta.
The Real
Um
Housewives.
with Rashida was in it and Kirk.
Oh, Love and Hip Hop. I don't
Love
watch
and Hip
none of
Hop.
them. I don't
Okay.
watch none of
So
those
I
anymore. I had to let it go. I had to.
girl, it was drama. But I was addicted at that time. And I remember that what's his name? Scrappy. He was at a restaurant and Rashida and Kirk was sitting there and his first thing was saying, I know one thing, no matter what he do, she always gonna stay with him. And her face was like, is that what I'm doing? Yeah. He's dragging you through the mud and you're still with him.
Baby,
And I'm
now, I don't watch the show, but I see the little TikTok saying that he done got the baby mama pregnant again.
yeah, and I'm like, she's still there because I seen updated shows. And I'm like, is this how we really are? Like, I'm starting to look at it. I'm like, do we not defend ourselves enough? Do we not stand up for ourselves? Or we're just too much of a strong race based on what happened to us history and years ago, to where we've always been held to be strong, to where we could be piled on. And, because I remember the first time, and I'm going to share this. All my girlfriends know about the person. Now, you know who my person is. So one day we had an argument and I was talking and talking and trying to make my point. And we were sitting down and I've never ever got out of line, never cursed because I always was learned to just not belittle a man or make them feel less than. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like respect, have respect for people. So him being young minded and still trying to grow, and he didn't have a foundation because again, he came from either I shut all the way down and don't talk to you, or I go up to 1,000. He don't have no gray area. So he didn't learn from either way. It was just either up or down. And I'm like, this is why you don't know, because you don't have anything to fall on.
Mhm.
So he said to me one day in the midst of the argument, would you shut the F up? I said, now, mind you, I was in total shock because I have never been talked to like that. And I said, excuse me? So, me being me and not being the person that's outlandish because everybody's like, oh, you're so sweet, you're so passive. I'm passive to a point. Keep that in mind. You push me and you will see another side. But I'm
Mhm.
passive because not all things are going to rub me. More so now. I have children, a business. I'm not going to let anybody rub me wrong. But if you do push me, you will see another side. So that other side clicked in, girl. It was in the back of my head. She rolled around to the front. And I got up in his face and I said, if you ever talk to me like that, I swear to God, I will put you where your mama where your mom can't find you. I was like, she'll be looking for you for days and she won't know where you at. And
Well,
I
I
swear
mean,
to
you
it
stood up for yourself.
snapped. I snapped. I did not know what came over me. The words just flew out of my mouth. And he was in a shock because he's never seen me get to that level of anger. And I was like, oh, you thought you was going to be like your daddy and talk to me any kind of way. No, that's not how it's going to go. And I think that's where a lot of the men get it mistaken because they think that we're not vocal enough.
Mhm.
You get what I'm saying? And so when I stood up for myself, it's festered because here it is months later. He's like, oh, let me not get you mad because you probably put me somewhere where my mom can't find me. Oh, you remember that? Keep
Good.
that in the back of your mind.
Good.
You
That's
would
why I
never
said
talk
it.
to me like that again. Girl, I mean, I completely snapped. It just came out of nowhere and I didn't know. I was like, did you just say that? I was a little proud of myself. I was like, yeah, girl, what a way to stand up for yourself. It may not have been the best way, but at least he know not to play with you. And so now, if we ever had a situation that wasn't, you never told me to shut the F up again, ever. So, and I think, like I said, because I have been so passive for so long, that me having that moment of a blow up shocked him.
Mhm.
So I'm like, well, let it had been another race, would you have done that? You know what I'm saying? Or a different person, would you have done that? Or you feel that you can because you watched your mom go through that. Because that's what your dad used to tell your mom, and she
Mhm.
still stayed with him until you were 13, and he had been telling her to shut the F up since you were a baby. So you see what I'm saying?
I do
So,
'cause
go ahead.
I know what I grew up seeing.
Hmm.
We definitely notice that our parents change a lot
Hmm.
as they get older. They're
Right.
definitely not the same people,
Hmm.
but I'll say all the time, make sure I say it right. I love my daddy,
Right.
but I also know the person that he was during that period from what I was seeing when I was growing up,
Hmm.
I would never want to date that.
Oh, that's the same thing my dad taught me. I don't ever want a man like him.
Would have never
Hmm.
wanted to date someone like that. And
Yeah.
it's a big deal as you get older and you're dating and
Hmm.
you're paying attention to people's patterns and there's
Hmm.
similarities and you're like, "God, okay, this person's like my daddy. I gotta move on."
Right. Whether it's physical abuse, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, you just don't want to go through it. And I don't want to feel like I'm cornered because I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? I just don't want to feel like that. I want to be able to open my mouth and say, hey, I don't like that. And if you don't stop, I'm going to take it to where it needs to go, somewhere where you're going to be paying for it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that's what my mom went through, physical abuse for 16 years before she decided to go. And like I said in the beginning of the show, if I'm watching boxing and fighting movies and I see them start to, deteriorate, they starting to look funny, faces is looking lopsided, and you took that for 16 years, but you're not normal mentally. Your state of mind is all jacked up to the point where it puts you in depression. You
But for
can't.
some reason, you convince yourself that you're stronger while you're going through it. I'm strong because I stayed.
You're not strong. You're
When
weak.
really you would have been stronger if you left sooner.
Hmm. If you did, and then
Granted, but it takes nothing away if you did leave. You
right.
just you probably should have left sooner, but I
Mhm.
mean, at least you found that strength from somewhere at some point in time.
and it and it's to the point where it did enough damage. So like I said, she's older and she can't even, if I even mention my dad's name, she's, going through the motions, and I'm like, "Hey sis, you can calm down. I mean,
He ain't here.
he's not he's not here. So calm down." But she's traumatized. And I'm like, "Had you been able to tell someone about this, would you have been okay?" But my mom always used to tell me, "Well, I can't. People like me can't complain." Who's the people like you? What people? What people are you? Why you can't complain? Because you're human.
Hmm.
So who's the people?
But
So it's just,
that's a big thing about the secrets in the Black community is we,
they're awful.
no matter what it is, push through,
Push
push
don't
through.
matter.
Now, the current generation is pushing for therapy, which is good,
I love it.
so that you can work through all of your feelings, learn how to process them,
Hmm.
learn how to do better.
Right,
But the older generation that went through the stuff that we watched them do, what they tell you, pray about it.
girl. I said I don't think God would put me in a position to get my butt whipped.
You just be sitting like, God ain't talking back to me today. I need somebody that I can sit here and really go through my thoughts with. I need somebody that's going to talk back, that's going to help me figure this out.
Right,
I still pray too, but
right.
you definitely notice that mental health has definitely become more serious these last few years, and
Hmm.
I I do love that people encourage it more.
They are, and it's encouraging me as a parent to be more approachable and be more
Mhm.
open. I'm giving my kids a safe space to be able to communicate with me and not shut them out because I don't understand, you know? So it is a lot to learn as you grow. I just feel like in this community, if anybody, was on this show tonight, because it's a very sensitive topic, but if you don't touch on these things, how are you to address it?
That is true.
You may not have been interested in this particular show tonight because of the fear of wanting to listen to this particular topic. But the fear is not addressing it. That's the real fear.
Hmm.
Not understanding that this is what you're going through. Not being able to be held accountable in your own self. Like, yes, I am dealing with physical, verbal, and emotional abuse in my own community, but I have nobody to talk to. And I can't go to my girlfriends because they're going to tell everybody else or they're going to judge me. And that's one thing I don't like is a judgmental person. That bothers me because I'm like, who are you to judge me? Okay. So I hope that once they go back and replay this to watch it, because that's what most people do,
Yeah,
is to understand that you're a victim of something, right? And how are you going to change it for yourself moving forward and for the generation ahead of you so that way that generation could teach their kids? Because
start
by the
the
time,
conversation about healing.
right, I think by the time my kids have kids, they may come to the table and start talking about things around dinner because they're more open, more free willed, right?
Mhm.
And they're also helping us grow too. So I'm hoping that by the time this show is finished, because we definitely went all over, but I think it was good. We kind of touched on some things.
I mean, but that's the whole point, to have conversations about a bunch of different things, and hopefully whoever watches the show, it sparks a conversation. Like, I know that there was a night where years ago I had a game night with my girls at the time. We all know the friendships they cycle through. But we had a game night, an amazing night. We sat there, played games, ate food, had snacks, got to drinking, got
Mm,
to talking.
mm,
And you know, you get a bunch of women together, whether it's wine or liquor, and you get on certain subjects, and then the tears start.
yeah.
But at the same time,
Hmm.
you have that support system,
Right.
because we had a conversation about that and the things that we went through as children and sexual abuse.
Hmm.
And it felt good to be able to talk about it.
Right.
It
And not
felt good
be
to
judged.
be able to talk about it in a safe space, not
Hmm.
be judged, hear other people's stories, and know that, okay, so I wasn't alone. But at the same time, it's really sad that we're sitting here talking about this, but
Hmm.
the people that did it are okay.
Right.
Like, they still get to go on about life like it was nothing,
Hmm.
while we still walk around holding this pain. So hopefully this show sparks a conversation between families, maybe even parents and children, because we grew up in a time where it was said, keep it a secret, don't talk about it.
Hmm.
Hopefully, now that the subject has been brought up, you can talk to your kids and say, was there anything you want to talk to me about? Anything that you feel like may have happened to you recently that,
Hmm.
didn't quite feel right, or maybe you feel like you brushed it off and it might have been more serious?
Hmm.
Because there were definitely moments in my teenage years where things happened, and
Hmm.
I just didn't want to talk about it because I was scared I was going to get in trouble.
Right.
And
That.
it wasn't even my fault. It wasn't even something that I provoked. Like,
Hmm.
I was 16, and there was a guy on my street that used to always say little stuff to me,
Hmm.
and I would just walk right past the house and go home. Every day, I did not engage in conversation. I was
Hmm.
actually absolutely terrified because he stared at me so much, and I would just walk straight home every day. Walk in the house, shut the door, lock it, go do my homework, whatever.
Hmm.
And it was one day,
Hmm.
and I don't even know why I was scared, but it was one day where I actually came home. I had left the door open, went back. Oh, I had to go to the bathroom.
Hmm.
Everybody's saying I had to go to the bathroom, so I ran in the house, went
Hmm.
to the bathroom, got distracted, went in my room, started doing stuff. He walked in the house. He walked
What?
he walked down to the house. He walked in, and I was just like, "Oh my God, you need to leave."
Right.
And as a child, you don't know what to say. So I'm like, "My mom is on her way home. You got to go. You got to do something."
Hmm.
And he ended up coming to my bedroom
Hmm.
and tried to force me to do things I didn't want to do. And because I got so upset, then eventually he left. I was
Hmm.
afraid to tell my mom because I didn't lock up the house. It wasn't that she was just like a horrible mother that was going to snap on me. It was just because I didn't follow the routine that I was supposed to follow. So because I didn't do the things that I was supposed to do when I got home, I felt like
Hmm.
I was wrong, and I put myself in this position. And I ended up telling my little sister, but I didn't tell my mom. But my sister was so upset that she went to school and she told the counselor at her school. And then they told my mom. My mom was like, "Oh my God, why didn't you tell me?" And I'm like, "I
Hmm.
because in my mind I did something wrong, so I did this to myself."
Right. Mm.
And it's not supposed to be that way, but that was an open conversation we were able to have.
Hmm.
After all that happened, I realized, okay, I should have said it up front when it happened, but hopefully this makes people want to talk to their kids more about it and ask more questions just to see where it
Just
goes.
just to make sure, like I said,
Yeah.
I would never put that on my son. I don't He would never be capable of that. But again, we still don't know who people are, and he's not a big communicator. So I want to make sure that I'm keeping up on the up and up, because somebody brother may have molested their own sister. You know what I'm saying? Without them even saying anything. And those are secrets that you keep because, again, we're not supposed to talk about it. Or she could be getting beat up by her brother, without me knowing, or being abused. Or now she's dating. I don't want that this new person that she's dating is secretly hurting her or beating on her or emotionally or verbally abusing her. And we don't know. If he's doing that, come and tell me. Not because of what you see your mom deal with, because I'm not going to deal with everything,
Yeah, there
And
she
so,
goes again.
look, it's time to go.
Yeah, isn't it?
Girl. Well, that hour rolled up so fast, Anya. And
It did.
tonight, our viewers, we did have one viewer, but it's okay. I don't expect all shows to be flooded with timelines, but there's certain shows that do cause triggers, and certain people are not wanting to address it. But if you're sitting back and you're watching this alone, don't be the victim. Stand up for yourself. Say something. Question your children. Talk to your family members. I mean, what do they say when you're charging at the person that actually did it? Confront them.
Hmm.
Confront the person. Back in this time, you did this to me and I didn't like it. Because some people act like they forget. And if it's something that they don't know, then forget it. I told my cousin that her boyfriend used to take advantage of me. Even though I'm 40 now, she's probably like, why the heck you didn't tell me then? I was just like, I don't know, because you were big bad wolf. And I felt like if I told you, you would think that I'm the one that was edging it on.
Yeah,
Years went by, but these things were continuing to happen in her own household. And she's like, well, what the heck? Is this what I'm attracting? Pedophiles? No, you're not. You don't expect that they are. You don't know that they are, but they're out there. So hopefully this will help somebody to address in this particular community to stop being closed mouth. Talk about it. Say something. Confront the person that's doing this to you. Make them pay, you know? So you have been unplugged.
yes, you have.
Okay, and I know for sure our next show is going to be really, really good. So stay tuned. I will
They're
post.
all really, really good.
Yes, I love it. So this one is going to be good. At first I was thinking to do one show before the other, but I think the other one I'm going to save closer to the end of the month because it's such a mild one. But this next show, I think we need to really touch on this, and it's called "Watch Your Mouth: The Power of the Tongue."
Mm.
Listen, you be out here word cursing people. It's not right. So let's talk about it. That's going to be our next show in a couple of weeks. So stay tuned.
We supposed to be out here sowing good seeds. Mm. And Letitia, it's growing, girl.
Oh yeah, I know. You gotta tell her if you send a picture, then I can show her if you got it. I'll send it to her.
It's been some things happening, girl.
I'm telling you, and I have to. You know what? I have to repot mines. It fell. I said, you know what? It's okay. I'm gonna repot you. You're not gonna defeat me. So
You know,
yeah,
I'm with you on that because every plant I get, I kill. Shame on me. It's not on
okay.
purpose. It's not on purpose. But this one is still thriving.
Your heart was in it. So I love that. And that's why I'm going to repop mine because I was like, the devil made it fall. So I got to defeat it. I got to defeat it. So, yes, we're going to do that show. And we're going to see where we go from there. But have a good night, everybody.
It was fun.
Bye.